Okay, this lesson's a little different because I want to make sure that we get a chance to actually see some things. So, same presentation style, just making sure that we are able to use the technology this time. The unit for the next 2 weeks is going to revisit our experience with solving. Our first lesson is just going to review what we learned in a week of practice in the last quarter. So, just like the last 2 weeks, we reviewed order of operations, distributive property, and kind of added something to it. We're going to do the same thing here, where we kind of compact what you learned in the last quarter and then move forward a little bit next week. So if you did not get a chance to learn it, it's a good opportunity for you to go ahead and make sure you go ahead and take the time to do what you need to do and pick it up, because you can still pick it up. But again, you've got to make sure that you actually make that attempt. One-step equations are exactly what they sound like. They are equations in which we must make one correct decision to complete. Nice thing about one correct decision is, as long as you know what you're doing, you'll be fine. If you remember, there were 5 decisions that were expected to learn before. Actually, there were just 4. I kind of realized that after I made the video. Addition was one of our options that we looked at, and that whenever a value is attached to the variable by addition, we subtract to move it away. So you might want to copy this example for yourself for later, but x plus 28 equals 187. What we learned to do last quarter was to identify the variable, use the equal sign as a wall, which means we identify the variable, we recognize that 28 is with the x. The 187 can't even, if this is a wall, the x can't even see this number, so it's not even really a factor. So x is in the same room with 28, and it is being added, which means, again, that since this is plus 28, we want to move it by subtracting 28. But what we also learned last quarter was that subtracting 28 throws off the balance of the equation. So in order to keep things smooth, we have to subtract 28 on the left side and on the right side. Once we do that, we draw our line. The 28s go away because you moved it. X comes down, equals comes down, and then 187 minus 28, just trust me, I did this on a calculator, is 159. Now, the reason that we use, or that I've programmed these to use big numbers, is because whenever I taught you things like x plus 2 equals 5, most people are good enough to say the answer is 3 and they don't rely on the skill. So I'm doing this so you have to rely on the skill to actually get the answer, because it's kind of hard to just kind of guess as far as what's going on and still get that right. But again, make sure that you do have a calculator around, and if you don't, I'm going to actually show you where to find one on your computer. So other than that, another example, 89 equals p plus 15. Once again, we learned to identify the equal sign, recognize that p is over on the right side with 15, and again, if this is a wall, it can't even see the 89, and so the number that's with p now is 15. And so if we want to move this 15 because it's being added, we will again subtract 15. But if we subtract 15 over here, we've got to also subtract 15 over there. We draw our line. 89 minus 15, 9 minus 5 is 4, 8 minus 1, 7, 74. Bring down our equals and bring down what's left, because remember that the 15s went away. And so that was 2 of our types of addition problems. I'm not going to give you both of these on all of them to save time, but again, all that happened is I just moved this to the right side and moved this to the left side. So it works both ways. Just make sure you understand how to identify what value is with the variable. Subtraction. Whenever a value is attached to the variable by subtraction, we add it to move it away. Alright, so in this problem we have g minus 87 equals 111. Once again, the equal sign is like a wall. If you want to on your paper, I usually just draw a line so that I have the visible wall there, and I know that this represents the left side, that represents the right. But looking at that, the value that's with g is a negative 87. Now you will recall that for those of you who did the homework, if you were to put 87, you'd miss it, but that's because I'm trying to help you to recognize that this negative belongs to that 87, and the faster you recognize that, the better off you're going to be. But negative 87 is attached to g, and yes, because of that, it is being subtracted, which means that if I want to move this 87, I must add 87, because negative 87, positive 87 go away. But again, to keep the balance, I must also do it to the right side. This goes away, which means that g comes down. Copy the sign, 111, 87, that'll be 89, 198, and that is that. Once again, this works on both sides. If I were to give you another example to copy, because I hope you're copying these, all that would happen is this would be on the right and this would be on the left, so it still works no matter what. But this is just a good example for you to have for when you go to your MathXL for the day. Whenever a value is attached by multiplication, we divide it to move it away. All right, so again, if multiplication is the case, remember multiplication and division are opposites, so we divide it to move it away. And so if we were to see this problem here, and again, if there is a wall separating it, notice that the value that's separated completely would be that one, so we're looking at this. So we see that 27 is with C. The special thing to recognize is that these two are directly connected. And remember that whenever they're directly connected, because I think we learned that in Unit 3, that means multiplication. And so it means that's 27 times C, which means that if I want to get rid of this 27, I will divide by 27. Now remember again, the algebraic way to show division is to put a line 27. So divided by 27 here, which means I must also divide by 27 here. When I divide that, you end up with the answer of 29. Copy down your equal sign. 27's gone, so we just bring down our C, and you have your answer. Once again, it works on both sides. Does not matter what side it's on. I'm just trying to get to the point to where you have something on paper to guide you, which I hope you're taking notes, and you have decisions to make once we get to the MathXL, which you will see. And then division. Whenever a value is attached to a variable by division, we multiply to move it away. And so if the problem looked like this, the wall again separates the 31, but we're looking at R and 19, and this is R divided by 19, which means that 19 is attached to R, and again it's attached by division. So the way we move this is by putting times 19. Remember, the way we learn that is to put parentheses 19, because again, R parentheses 19 means R times 19. And so we put parentheses 19 over here, parentheses 19 over there. The 19s go away, R comes down, equals comes down, and 31 times 19 is 589. Again, you just have to trust me on that one because I did work those out. But again, these numbers are going to be actually more difficult than that. And now I'm being difficult as in you can't do it. I mean difficult as in we're moving forward with our experience. You had these numbers in the first time around, so you will see that there is a slight adjustment this time to kind of keep you improving. So now we're going to look at some problems on MathXL. Again, you don't need to copy the problems, but you might want to write down small notes for strategy. Hopefully you already copied the 4 different types, which is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You should not need to copy anything, but hopefully watching this will help you to kind of know what's going on. First off, this assignment isn't on yours, but I just want to work it out as an assignment. But if you do not have a calculator, you should be able to go onto your computer and type scientific, SCIENTIFIC calculator. And when you do that, the one I suggest that you use is the Desmos scientific calculator, or you could just go to desmos.com and then look for a scientific calculator. But again, once you do that, this opens up a whole bunch of things to where you can even type it using 78 times 15. You can even change this 15 to a 25. You can turn 78 into an 18 and still get all the answers you want. It has fractions, it has exponents, it has everything that you're looking for. So if you want to do that, that would be what you want to use. But again, I'm going to go ahead and use the calculator in MathXL, which should be available to you. So we have 8 questions very quickly to walk through, and then I will be finished. Again, you do not need to copy them, but you should pay attention to what's going on, because this is just like what your homework's going to look like. In this problem, let me actually zoom this here. All right. In this problem, it says what value is with W? Well, W is over here with, don't forget, don't put 41. You want to put negative 41. I also told you before in class, I don't know if all the classes know, but the tab key helps you move boxes, so you don't need to use your arrow. So what we will do now is we will actually solve by moving the values. This is a minus 41, so I will type plus 41. Then I will hit tab, which moves me to the next box, or you could click in the next box. But again, plus 41, plus 41. Again, you could click there. Because the 41s are gone, you'll type a W there, and then you will actually type 22.3 plus 41. I'm sorry, I almost used my own calculator. Which is 63.3. Hopefully that's right. Good job. But again, that calculator works just for you. All you got to do is go to question help and find it. Here, again, what values with C? If that's the wall, the value with C would be 21.3. And so now we want to actually solve it. And so what we do, we recognize this is C divided by 21.3. So what I want to do is multiply by 21.3. The reason I'm doing this on the computer is so you can see what you need to do. Again, if you need to write a note on how to show multiplication, make sure you write that note. But that is how I show times 21.3. I then take my calculator and do 10.4 times 21.3 and get 221.52. By the way, if you didn't notice, the adjustment that we making this time around is that there are decimals. But again, as long as you trust the system, everything should work out. Just make sure that you're ready for everything that's coming your way right now. What values with G? Again, finding this, you have to recognize G is over here. It is with 13.9. From there, we want to now figure out how do we move 13.9. Remember, if this was directly attached, that means multiplication, which means we want to divide. But you can't draw a line, and this is where you want to make a note. For division, you must use the division sign. So down here at the bottom, you should, once you click on the box, if you don't click on the box, you can't get to it. But once you click on the box, you hit more. There's a division symbol there. Divided by 13.9. Again, divided by 13.9. You can then close that back out by hitting that X. 154.29. I'm sorry, I keep doing this on my calculator in my hands. 154.29 divided by 13.9. Yes, it's going to be a lot of calculator work, but that is also a skill that you need. 11.1. And remember that once that goes away, G is what comes down. Here, what values with V? It'll be 39.5. So you do not need to put the plus in front of it because we understand it's just 39.5. So let's go ahead and solve this. How do we move to 39.5? We will subtract 39.5 from both sides. Again, the way I'm skipping boxes by hitting the tab key. Once you do that, the V comes down, and then you want to find out what that answer is. So you will type 135.7 minus 39.5, which gives us 96.2. Hopefully that's right. Good job. Once again, what values with B? In this case, we identify where B is at. We see that it's directly attached to 16.3. How do I know? Because I see it down here also. And so now we'll go ahead and solve this thing. If you want to get rid of the 16.3, again, that is multiplication because they're attached. We hit divided by 16.3. Tab to move boxes, divided by 16.3. Again, over here, the 16.3's go away, leaving us with B. And then we do 192.34 divided by 16.3. Again, hopefully you're getting something out of this because you're going to have to do this today on your own. And actually, in your next lesson, we're going to do our two-step equation. So today is kind of like the day where you've got to make sure you've got the foundation back because you need that. So make sure you take this very seriously, especially since you have a day off tomorrow to kind of practice this stuff and get ahead. But other than that, what values with A? Again, identify A. See that it's with 36.2. So now we come down here. How do we move the 36.2? If it's added, we will subtract 36.2. Subtract 36.2. By the way, I held Shift Tab and went backwards, and for those of you who like to be tech savvy. A 9.4 minus 36.2 gives me 53.2. Tab A, because again, A is the only thing left, and then I hit enter to check, and that is that. A couple more here, and then again we're done. But again, this shouldn't be that bad. Again, what values with Q? Notice that not 55.6. I'll just show you that it'll mark you wrong by doing this. But it should be negative 55.6 because it's negative. But again, I'm going to show you why that marks you wrong, or at least prove to you that it marks you wrong. In order to move this, we will add 55.6 because it's negative. It's being subtracted. So we put plus 55.6 on both sides. Then we do 13.1 plus 55.6, which gives me 68.7. Hope I don't do anything crazy right now in front of everybody, but I really don't care. Everybody makes mistakes. Equals Q. Again, the equal sign's already there for you. Just make sure you... Oh yeah, I did say I'm wrong. And the reason I'm wrong is because, again, that is a negative 55.6. I hope that's the only reason. There we go. So again, just make sure you put a negative in there whenever that's there, because it will mark your whole problem wrong if you don't. And then the last one, again, what values with t is 18.1. Now we'll go to solve this. How do we don't need this anymore. So again, I hit X. Actually hit less. Sorry, that closed it back down. To get rid of this 18.1 being divided, we will multiply. Remember, we show multiplication by putting parentheses 18.1, parentheses 18.1. Again, if you got to jot down that that's how you show multiplication, make sure you write that. The only two things that are kind of tricky is how you show multiplication, how you show division. Just make sure that you are ready for that. And then 11.9. I don't know why they didn't set it up to where it, oh, backspace, pretty nice, to where it just stays up for you, because it's not like you're only going to need it one time. 215.39. And hopefully what you're noticing is that the decimals, all they do is just make it so we have to use a calculator. But as long as you trust the steps, as long as you're doing your steps correctly, and as long as you're typing everything in the right way, it's still going to work out. So again, make sure you do your best on this, because again, next week we will definitely be moving forward. And actually Thursday we'll be moving forward, because we're going to be adding on 2 steps. So make sure you get your foundation work down today, because in the next lesson I am not going to teach as if you don't know what you're doing. I'm going to teach as if you actually did this assignment. So make sure you're ready for that. But other than that, go into your Math XL and get started. Good luck.